So, welcome everyone to the third installment of the MICHC DMIS training. My name is Bill, and I'm going to show you the basics of how to get into the system, get set up, and so you can start entering actual case data. And I'll show you some other hidden features that may not jump out at you right away. The first thing is getting into the system. So if I see a lot of familiar names, so I've created a lot of accounts for you folks. If you have not received word from me about your account, then you most likely do not have one. And so if you're a program manager, you should get in touch with me or someone at DOH. And if you are not a program manager, you should talk to your program manager because they can request accounts through the system. But so once your account is created, I'm just going to share my screen here. So once your account is created, you'll navigate to the login screen. This is a test URL, so you won't want to use this one. The real URL will be in the email that you receive. And the first step is generating a new password. And you'll do that by clicking this Forgot Password button. And a little prompt will come up. And you will enter your username and click Submit. I'm not going to do it right now, but when you do that, a little message will pop up here in green telling you that an email has been sent. The password will be in that email, and so all you have to do is type it in here to log in. And sometimes that email will end up in your junk folder, so be sure to look there. So we'll start with what program managers need to do to get set up. First thing will be requesting accounts for all of their employees. So first step, so to get to that form, you'll click Settings. And over here on the left, we have the user request form. And so you'll want to fill one of these out for each of your employees. First name, last name, email, the username you'd like, and then the role that they will need to log in with. And there's some short descriptions here. And so you can, if you click this email button, it'll pack all this into an email, and you can send them to me individually. Or if you want, you could print them to a PDF, package up. If you're requesting 10 users and you want to package it up into one email, that's fine too. And you can send them through a support ticket or to this email address here. So once you've requested all of your users, you'll receive word from me that the account has been created, and I will CC that user so that they know as well, and they have all their account information. And so the next step for program managers will be to add worker records to the system. And so you'll do that by clicking up here on Account, clicking My Dashboard, which will take you to your dashboard page, which I'll explain in detail a little later. So to add workers, we will then click this Program Detail link. And right here is a little Add button where you can add each worker. And so at minimum, we need a first name and a last name. But a very important piece, not necessary, but still important, is this username selection. So once everyone's accounts are created, you'll see them listed here. And it's important to link the account to the worker record so that dashboards and things of this nature can be properly populated. Essentially, the system, when you log in, it looks at your username and it tries to find a match to a worker record. And then it builds up tables of information that are useful for you. And without this link, you don't get the dashboards. They'll just be empty. So you'll repeat that process for each worker you have. And you can see we have some test data, all sorts of folks here. And so then you're, let's see, one last step is assigning supervisors, right? Excuse me. You've added a list of workers, but who's supervising who? The trick is to go into an individual worker's record, which I did by clicking select there on the left, then clicking supervisor history here in this panel. New worker, this will be blank, obviously. You'll click add. Click the name of the supervisor, select the date, and submit. And that will start populating this list. And so now you've got all the underpinnings set up for your dashboards. And so you're ready to go to start entering case data. Oh, and one other note about case data. We had a question today. I'm going to go back to the Program Manager dashboard. We had a question today from a CHW who was wondering why they could see other CHW's cases. So there's an option in this system, again, I'm going to the program detail page, that will restrict access to caseloads. By default, it's turned off, which is why that CHW could see other CHW's cases. So if you do not wish for that to happen and you would like to restrict caseload access, again, I click this edit here. You want to make sure this box is checked and submit. Had that box been checked, that CHW would not have been able to see that other workers' cases. So depending on how you work, you can enable or disable that option. So entering case data, we would start up here at the cases link in the navigation bar. Where you will be, well, at first presented with an empty list. And you can search here on the side once things grow. But essentially you want to click add. This will take you to the initial contact form. You'll fill this out, and once submitted, you will have created a case. A worker will be assigned by default once you select them on that form. And after submitting that initial contact form for the first time, you'll be brought to this page, the case detail page, where all of your case-related data will be put into the system. You can store various types of contact information. You can have multiple addresses, phone numbers, emails. You can label them as active or inactive to hide them or display them to you. We have case notes where you can add free-form text for anything you need to remember about this particular case. And then the bulk of the data entry is here in the Forms tab. And you'll see the initial contact form, which was that first one we filled out. You can always go back in and edit if need be. We have a screen, an update, and a discharge, which are all very similar. They all contain questions about living arrangement, education, employment, benefits, healthcare. It's also where you'll find your screening assessments, like your Audit C, your HITS, your PHQ-9. Your encounters are where you can record medical visits, whether they be for the client or the child. You can also log immunizations, and you can add referrals via the encounter form. Children and pregnancies, self-explanatory there. We did have a question earlier today about children and pregnancies. Specifically, how do we add twins? And I'll just cover that real quick. So you see in the pregnancy section, we have number 6, number of births. And if we increment to 2, you can see down here, now we have child 1 and child 2. And you can go, you can add as many children as you want. One thing to keep in mind, last name, first name, and birth date need to be entered, or else when the form is saved, the child will not be recorded. And we also have an ASQ. It's standard ages and stages questionnaire. And that's it for case-related data. So now we spoke about restricting caseloads. So one thing you can do, if you might need to transfer a case from one worker to another, if access is restricted, and we can do that right here at the CHW history link. And it looks a lot like the way you assign a supervisor to a worker. We would just add select the worker, an assignment date, and submit. And so that's, you know, how you can shuffle cases between workers if your access is restricted. Another feature in the system is supervisor approval. And for that, I'm going to need to log in as a supervisor. A lot of the functions in this system require you to select the proper role. Now, you may have multiple roles. I made a few accounts today for folks that had a program manager and a supervisor role. And a question came up because they were trying to get to the program details page, but they were logged in as a supervisor. And so they were not allowed to. And that's just something you have to keep in mind. To perform a certain function, you need to be logged in with that specific role. The system doesn't really account for both of them simultaneously. So going in as a supervisor, if I go back to the cases, and we go back into that case, and we come down to the forms, you will see little red X's. So this means that the form has not been approved by a supervisor. And so when a supervisor looks at a form, they have an extra button at the bottom that says approve. When the form is unapproved, it says unapproved when the form is approved. So you can toggle back and forth. But essentially, when you click approve as a supervisor, the form is locked and cannot be edited. And so this will turn green. You get a little check. And if you go back in, you'll notice that all the fields are disabled and there's no submit button. So nothing can be changed with this form. If you wanted to unapprove it for any reason, for edits, you can unapprove. Then the form can be loaded again, edits can be made, and the form can be submitted. So I mentioned linking accounts to worker records. You can see so when I logged in as a supervisor, I have taken the liberty of connecting my account to a worker in the system. And that worker in the system is assigned as a supervisor to other workers. And you can see my supervisees come up on the left. Forms I need to approve come up on the right. And one neat thing you can do is you can view the dashboard of your workers. And so you can see at a glance what cases are assigned, any open referrals, encounters and update forms that have been entered, and any births. And it gives you a nice summary presentation of each of your workers. Similarly, if you go here to my dashboard, you'll see these two lists, supervisees and tasks. And so you can also go from, or rather form approvals, you can go through and look at them this way as well. And the same goes for program managers. If you are on your program manager dashboard, you will see a list of workers. And by clicking on any of those workers, you will then be taken to their dashboard. It's kind of a hierarchical drill down sort of a feature. There is a timer in the system that will log you out automatically, similar to like your bank's website. So you just want to be sure that if you're filling out a form, just get it done, get it submitted. Should you get distracted, if you get logged out, you will lose any data you've punched into the form before submitting it. And let's see. So if you need help for any reason, we're developing a user manual here. We're going to load it up with lots of questions and a basic explanation of some of the functions in the site and where things are located. So you can always check this out. If you have a question, the other option, which works very well, some of you have already used, is to submit a ticket. My account is connected to Rick Worker, and so you can see how it pre-populates. Basically, any problem, question, anything you have, you can submit a ticket, and that's the quickest way to get in touch.